Welcome back to the channel. My name is Dr. Obi. I am a researcher and educator in cybersecurity, data, and AI ethics. Let me ask you this. You've prepared your resume for an AI governance job, but then somebody asks you, how would you apply the NIST AI risk management framework to a real project? If you know how to use the NIST RMF as a structured answer framework, while showing you understand the governance role, you stand out immediately. So today I am going to show you what the NIST AI RMF is, why companies care about it, and how to use it in interviews or discussions in AI governance. But first, let's talk about why the NIST AI RMF matters. The NIST AI Risk Management Framework was released in January 2023. It helps organizations identify, assess, and manage AI risks. Here's how it differs from other frameworks. For example, the EU AI Act is a legally binding regulation that classifies AI into risk levels like unacceptable, high risk, and minimal risk. There's also the OECD AI principle, which is a high-level global guideline that's focused on values like fairness and accountability. While the NIST AI RMF is voluntary, it's flexible, and it's really an operational tool. It's not the law, but a practical way for companies to embed responsible AI practices. Companies now reference it in job descriptions for responsible AI governance, and risk management roles. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, computer and information research jobs, which is where AI ethics and governance sits, it has a 20% growth rate projected through 2034, which is a much faster rate. Employers want candidates who don't just know AI governance buzzwords, but who can apply it, especially recognize frameworks like NIST in practice. The key here is this. Knowing the NIST RMF gives you credibility. It shows you can bring structure to complex AI risks. Now, a nickname or just an acronym that I give to the NIST AI core functions is GM3, and you'll soon see why. So the framework is built around 4 core functions that I call GM3. The first one is govern, which really entails who is accountable, what policies guide AI use. The second one is map. What that entails is what risks exist, who might be harmed. The third one is measure. It asks questions like, how do we test fairness? How do we test transparency and robustness? The last one is manage. It also asks questions like, how do we mitigate risks and monitor over time? So that's our GM3. If you're asked a question like, how would you assess risks in an AI hiring tool, for example, there are a few steps that you can take to structure your answer. The first is to clarify the system and the context. As a governance professional, you might begin by asking, so what does the AI tool really do? Is it for screening resumes? Is it ranking candidates or analyzing interview videos? What data is it trained on? Is it internal hiring history, or does it also include third-party data? Who are the users and who might be impacted? Now, these questions and more that you will find as you learn about the tool that you're trying to analyze shows that you understand the context before applying any framework. And that is very important. You have to understand the context in which you are applying the framework. The second step in trying to structure your response is where you actually apply the GM3. So in the govern, you would say something like, I would ensure accountability is defined. Who owns the system? What oversight structures or policies are guiding responsible use in hiring or in that context? For map, you would say something like, I will coordinate a risk mapping process with HR and technical teams. For example, could the system disadvantage specific groups or candidates with non-traditional backgrounds? What impact could that have on the company's reputation, compliance, or lawsuits? No company wants to be on the news for the wrong kind of reasons. Measure, I would ask questions like, if there are already fairness and performance tests or documentations that are available, whether it's available for you to see them. If none exist, then I would work with the technical teams to conduct such tests for demographic parity to ensure the results are documented and reviewed at the governance level. I would also check transparency. Can recruiters explain why this tool rejected a candidate? Now, manage is where you would coordinate with stakeholders to ensure the risks are mitigated, whether that means adding human oversight or changing a process and verifying how these actions are monitored over time. You would also check whether there is a feedback loop where rejected candidates can appeal the decision if they are rejected. The third step is where you state the outcome. So, for example, you might say something like, by applying the RMF, the organization can demonstrate fairness, accountability in hiring. This reduces legal and reputational risks, improves compliance with labor regulations, and builds trust with candidates. The key here is don't just list those functions, the GM3 functions. Show that you really understand the system, show that you can apply the GM3 in a governance role, state the organizational outcomes. Remember when Twitter or X, their photo cropping tool was found biased against certain groups? Now, a governance approach using RMF might have looked like this. It might have had govern, where there's a clear ownership and escalation policy. It'll have map, where people who were potentially harmed are identified. It will have measure that requires bias testing of the outputs. It will have manage, where the risks are mitigated, in this case by removing the flawed feature. This is what happened with X or Twitter at the time, was that this feature was sunsetted. It was removed. Here's how you can practice applying the RMF yourself so that you're confident in discussions. The first thing you do is pick an AI system that you know very well. Whether it's ChatGPT, it's Netflix recommendations, it's LinkedIn job matching tool. Find one that you really know, one that you can log into and look at how it works, how the system works. The second thing that you do is you describe how that system actually works in your own understanding. The purpose of the system, the data that it might be using, who benefits and who could be impacted. Then walk through the GM3, okay, to figure out how to implement the GM3 for that application. For example, govern, you will define accountability and policies. For map, you will identify the risks and the affected groups. For measure, you will document the tests that need to be run and the results that need to be reviewed. For manage, you will list the mitigating and monitoring processes that need to be in place for that. Then step 4 is where you state the outcome. What is the outcome of doing what you just did? Always end with the value. Okay, what is the value using the GM3 or using the risk RMF to evaluate a product? Is it trust? Is it compliance? Is it reduced risk? So with that, if you've done that, if you've chosen a tool that you're familiar with and you've gone through that, then go ahead and write like a half-page or one-page case study describing what you did, describing the outcome. This becomes both a practice and something that you can share with others. Now, if you've done that maybe once, twice for different tools, then you can feel confident to add something in your resume indicating that you've practiced these things. You could say something like applied NIST RMF to case studies to reduce AI risks. And in a discussion, whether it's an interview or just a discussion you're having with someone, if you're asked how you would handle AI risk, your response might be something like this. I would structure my approach using the NIST RMF. It's governance, mapping risks and measuring impacts, and managing outcomes. If you're provided with a scenario where someone says, for example, our chatbot is giving bad advice or giving harmful advice, how would you respond to that? You can start with structuring your response using the same GM3. Govern, you want to know what policies, who is responsible, was anything in place to prevent that? With a map, who was harmed and how was this person harmed? With measure, you will look for if there's a documentation of the test, how was the system tested for any harmful outputs. And for manage, you would look for documentation that listed any fixes or how fixes are coordinated and any oversight and communication with how to manage these risks if they do come up. Now, the key here is that your responses should show that you bring a structured, governance driven process. So let's do a quick quiz to gauge your learning. A company creates an AI oversight policy. What part of the GM3 is that? Now, the answer is govern. Next question. A technical team tests an AI tool for bias, and the results are reviewed by a governance team. What part of the GM3 is that in? It's in measure. That's where that is. Now, let's talk about another one. A company removes a flawed AI system after complaints and then documents the process. Under what part of the GM3 is that? That's manage. All right, so don't just memorize these frameworks, show that you can explain how AI systems work, apply the RMF from a governance perspective, and highlight the organizational outcomes. Start with one AI system, walk it through GM3, and practice stating the outcome. That will give you more confidence and put you ahead. And as always, like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend who is transitioning to AI governance. Until next time, keep learning and keep leading. Thanks for watching.